or the bitter cold winters in cities like Chicago, they never stop. And there is one thing that the pandemic taught us. It's that we can't keep treating them like they're expendable. A rail strike is unthinkable, and so is a world where rail workers are forced to work sick or penalized if they take a day off when they're ill. Chicago and the people I represent live and work in the nation's heart and center of America's rail network. This isn't abstract for me, it's my neighbors. We see these hardworking men and women getting the job done, rain, shine, or snow. When I said I wouldn't vote for a deal that doesn't include paid sick leave, I meant it. Paid sick leave should be a right and not a negotiation chip.
Gentleman's time has expired.
That's why I would vote on the floor, not the ceiling.
The gentleman's time has expired.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The gentleman from New Jersey.
I reserve.
The gentleman reserves. The gentleman from Missouri.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Could I inquire any more speakers?
I don't believe we have any more speakers.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm prepared to close.
All right, the gentleman from New Jersey may close. I'm sorry, the gentleman from Missouri should go first. You may close.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes.
In closing, I just want to say that a freight rail strike, it would devastate the supply chain and it would literally shut down the country. Again, estimates are that the strike would cost the economy up to $2 billion per day during a very busy holiday season. This threat comes only months after President Biden celebrated avoiding a railway strike, remember? Now the president and his cabinet have given up on leading. They've retreated in failure, and they've kicked this problem to Congress for us to decide. The terms of the tentative agreement found in this resolution are more than fair for railroad workers. 24% increase in wages, 24%, and it's retroactive. Employee contributions to health care, capped at 15%. This is supported by the freight railroads, by shippers, and 8 out of 12 of the labor unions involved. 8 out of 12. This was a very negotiated proposal. It had bipartisan momentum that was building for this resolution. Unfortunately, the majority decided to play political games with the economy, and they went back on the president and the speaker's stated support for implementing the terms of the tentative agreement. This is beyond bad faith. This is just simply reckless. And I want to point out that what we're debating right now and what we will vote on with this is the tentative agreement. That's the original agreement. We will go on next to vote on the extra benefits. But despite the Speaker and the President's decision to cower the progressive demands by having a second vote on the revised agreement, I do plan to support this resolution, this one right now that we're debating, to implement the tentative agreement as it was debated, as it was negotiated, in an effort to stop an economically ruinous rail shutdown. And I would urge my colleagues to do the same. With that, I yield back the balance of my time.
The gentleman yields back the balance of his time. The gentleman from New Jersey may close.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And I'd like to thank my colleague on the other side of the aisle for once again making the points that we have tried to make. You will have the opportunity to vote on HJ Res 100. And as it has been mistakenly portrayed, a poison pill. There is no poison pill. You have the opportunity to vote on HJ Res 100. Then there is a second piece of legislation. You're welcome. We separated them. But we had to do something. This, Mr. Speaker, is about fairness. And just as you have a vote in this body, each member has a vote to ratify or not ratify. And the workers in the labor unions have a vote to ratify or not ratify. Your leadership comes up with sometimes things that you want to see done? Does everyone vote with the leadership? It was a negotiated deal. 8 of the 12 ratified. 4 did not. 115,000 workers, the majority of the workers are in those 4 unions, from what I understand. So it is a fair majority of the workers that did not ratify this. You mean to tell me every time your leadership gives you something that they negotiate, that you vote on it? No, there's sometimes you don't vote with what your leadership has brought you. And so these people are doing the same thing that you're allowed to do in this body. And I don't think that is a situation that is unrealistic. As the railroads implemented drastic changes that brought steep workforce cuts, that's right, cuts, closures of yards and shops associated